Hello everybody. In this video we'll try to understand what happens when retrograde Jupiter is in the ninth house for Aries ascendant. So this is the question asked by one of the subscribers. So see, for an Aries ascendant, if you observe, Jupiter rules the ninth house. So ninth house in Vedic astrology is called as Dharma Bhava. So, and it is also ruling the 12th house, which is the Moksha Bhava, is the house of liberation. So the ninth house is a Dharma Trikona house. It's a trine house, and it's generally treated as auspicious because ninth house represents luck, fortune, and higher education also. Even your philosophy, your long distance travel, your father or guru, or any kind of religious or spiritual pursuit that you may have in your life, that is all indicated by ninth house. And what is Jupiter basically? So the Jupiter is the planet of expansion, is the planet of wisdom, wealth, luck, philosophy, and grace. And for Aries ascendant, Jupiter is generally treated as an auspicious planet. It's a benefic planet. And if you observe the ninth house in Vedic astrology, it mainly it rules your fortune, your righteous path, that is your dharma, right? Even it rules your guru, your father, your higher knowledge, and even it governs your foreign travel. And generally speaking, Jupiter in its own house here, that too in Sagittarius, right? It's generally treated as a powerful placement, and it is often called as a kind of it's a kind of yoga also, right? And if you see the 12th house, it's the house of expenditure, because here Jupiter also rules the 12th house. So it's the house of expenditure, house of loss, isolation, foreign lands, spirituality. It's the house of moksha. Basically 12th house is treated as the house of liberation. So this, in this particular ninth house, which is the own house of Jupiter, the Sagittarius, so this is a kind of extremely strong placement for Jupiter. But the main thing here is Jupiter is in retrograde motion. So when a planet is in retrograde motion, it appears to be moving backward with respect to the earth. So its energy is more internalized, so making its effects more intense. So a retrograde planet is a very strong planet. It's very intense, very thoughtful, and of course sometimes delayed or experienced in a kind of non-linear fashion. It often compels the native to re-examine, to review, or to rework the matters of the house it occupies and rules. So basically, it generally means revisiting your beliefs and philosophy. So the native would have some kind of deep introspective relationship with their spiritual beliefs and philosophical understanding. They may constantly question, research, and redefine their worldview. And also, there's a possibility of, there's a tendency to be a philosophical or a kind of spiritual seeker who dives deep rather than just accepting the traditional values. So the person is a bit deeply into questioning the philosophical or spiritual thing. So he's basically a spiritual seeker, we say. That's one possibility. Another important possibility is the pursuit of higher knowledge. That can be your master's or your PhD or some deep study of specialized subjects in your life. It's very much possible, but it may involve some kind of delays or interruptions or multiple attempts because of this retrograde nature of Jupiter in the ninth house. And that too, the ninth house rules your higher education, right? So that's why these delays and interruptions or some kind of multiple attempts are expected. So the person might study one subject, change his mind and return to it later, or feel the need to teach and review the fundamentals before truly grasping the advanced concepts. So, this is the kind of behavior you can see in the native. And when this particular retrograde Jupiter is in the ninth house, we also observe what is the relationship of this particular native with his guru or father, because ninth house represents your mutual relationship with your father and also with your guru. So the relationship with the father or your guru or a mentor, it can be a bit complex, involving a need for internalized guidance. Something like the father figure might be very, very influential, but the native may feel a strong need, right, to find their own philosophy. The father would have some philosophy, the father would tell the native some philosophy, but the native would feel a strong need to find his own distinct philosophy, or the native would later realize the wisdom of his father's teachings, right? So this is the expected behavior. And the luck and fortune, if you observe, because ninth house rules luck and fortune. So Jupiter is the ultimate bringer of luck in Vedic astrology, especially for Aries ascendant. Of course, it's the planet of luck for sure. And the retrograde motion suggests that luck is present for sure, but it's not a free pass. It just doesn't come like that because it's retrograde motion. It often requires some extra effort, some kind of introspection is needed from the native, or a kind of moral or ethical adjustment is needed from the native before the full benefits of the fortune manifest. So some extra effort is required because the Jupiter is in retrograde motion here. It's not like a free pass luck, it's a kind of earned luck through some inner work, right? Because here Jupiter is in retrograde motion. And as we're talking about the ninth house, and also here Jupiter also has the 12th rulership, definitely we need to talk about the foreign travel and settlement. So travel or association with some foreign cultures or foreign lands or settlement in the foreign lands is, of course, it's to some extent it is a bit strong only. But the retrograde nature suggests that travel might be frequent. It's not a kind of permanent settlement. It's something like it involves some kind of return trips, or the individual might go abroad only to feel drawn back to their roots, to share what they have learned, kind of. It's not that the native would be very much comfortable in the foreign lands. He would feel like drawn back to their roots, right? So the spiritual benefits of foreign journeys are magnified. Generally, the spiritual benefits are much more magnified when retrograde Jupiter is in the ninth house for Aries ascendant, especially I'm talking about. So if you want to feel this energy more, so generally we talk about a kind of philosophical archivist. Means it's something like, let us imagine a person working in a very big ancient library. You just take an ancient library. It's not a modern library. It's a massive library, but at the same time it's an ancient library, right? Because see, ninth house rules your knowledge and philosophy. And here Jupiter, the retrograde Jupiter, represents a kind of librarian, and he is sitting in a vast collection of books. As it's a kind of, the library is a massive and ancient library. So instead of reading the latest bestsellers, the native, is compelled to go deep into the forgotten sections of the world, kind of dusty sections of the world. It's not a very, very modern knowledge. So what the native would do is the native would pull out some old manuscripts or reread or retranslate some kind of ancient text. The native would be interested in that ancient texts basically, because the retrograde Jupiter in the ninth house, that retrograde is clearly showing this kind of rereading or retranslating that ancient texts and constantly cross reference different philosophies to find the underlying truth. He's a spiritual seeker, he is a truth seeker basically. So the person's knowledge is, of course, there's a possibility that the person's knowledge is profound, but it might have taken some time for him to come to this particular status or this particular position, as the person might have done some kind of deep review, and the person has a willingness to question the modern summaries for sure. So the person is a treasure of wisdom that you can see, because a retrograde Jupiter in the ninth house represents a native with treasure of wisdom. But the process of accumulating this wisdom is a kind of non-linear and it's a kind of highly internal, right? And that is the energy we can feel with this retrograde Jupiter in the ninth house. And you can also feel a kind of a professor here. So consider a person, it's something like the person starts his academic career immediately after graduation. Let us say he's in some post-graduation program or he's enrolled for some PhD program. So the retrograde Jupiter, what it does is it kicks in. So it kicks in. The native would find the initial curriculum of this particular post-graduation program or PhD program very unsatisfying. So the person would drop out. The person would drop out feeling the need for some kind of real world experience first. So even though the retrograde Jupiter kicks in this particular person into some post-graduation program or some PhD program, the person would feel the person would be unsatisfying with the curriculum of that particular post-graduation program or PhD program. So the person would drop out, because he needs some kind of real world experience first. He would not be satisfied with the initial curriculum of this post-graduation program or PhD program. So the person would travel the world for a year. He may take a break for a year, working with some different groups or learning some foreign languages, because there's an association of this 9th and 12th, because Jupiter here is the lord of the 9th and 12th, right? So you can feel that energy, right? Because Jupiter is retrograde, so that's the energy you can observe here. So once so let us say he dropped out from that higher education for a year, or he feels like dropping out from this higher education or whatever the post-graduation program or PhD program, then he learned something from different groups of the world, or by some association he learned something. But later he feels an overwhelming need to structure and teach the knowledge that he has acquired during this particular period. So let us say he re-enrolled for this program again, re-enrolled for this post-graduation or PhD program, but this time, he, let us say, integrated his philosophical travel, whatever he learned in this dropping out period, whatever he learned, he wants to integrate that knowledge into this re-enrollment of this particular post-graduation or PhD program. That's another possibility I'm talking about, because Jupiter is in retrograde motion. But what happens this time is it would result some brilliant work. It can be highly virginal. He would be satisfied with the PhD and post-graduation program, and he would work better. that would lead to a successful, post-graduation or PhD program, right? And ultimately he would become a professor also, where he teaches with some kind of wisdom, right? So that wisdom is kind of it's far beyond just the academic theory. So the delay and revisiting that happened for this particular native, that is, he dropped out initially from this PhD or post-graduation program, and he learned something from different groups and association of some people, and then he re-enrolled into this post-graduation and then PhD program, and let us say he became a professor. So his wisdom is a bit beyond the academic theory. So this particular delay or dropping out, right, of this native is actually leading to some kind of ultimate success. It is actually creating a greater impact, right, for the society as well. So that is the fundamental thing we can feel, because Jupiter is in retrograde motion here. And also, let's imagine a person, let's take a person, his father is a kind of a sage, and everyone is believing in that sage. But this person, so the person's father and his teachings, everybody is believing his father is a great person, his teachings are very great, but the native is not completely believing in his father's teachings or in his father's philosophy or in what his father actually told him. So he wants to do his own research. He is not believing his father's words, so he wants to do his own research. He wants to do his own his own searching, you can say, and then finally he would know that his father is correct, right? So but what happened during this time? He didn't believe his father's words, right, his teachings, and he learned on his own, and finally he came to know that his searching is a kind of fruitless and his father is correct. Now his knowledge now is a bit, it's profoundly deep, you can say, right? Because it's a kind of revisiting or researching, right? So that's where this retrograde Jupiter is working. That's how so he realized his father has a very great knowledge, but he had lacked the inner maturity that time to understand his father's knowledge. So returning home, he found his father is more knowledgeable, and now it's something like he re-examined the whole wisdom that his father gave him, right? So now his knowledge is a bit deeper. Getting it? So initially the native is not believing his father's words or his father's philosophy. He wants to research on his own, and finally he came to know his research is not so fruitful. His father's words are correct, his father's knowledge is correct, and because of this wastage of time, this revisiting or researching, he might have got some extra knowledge, a realistic knowledge. So you can say the native's knowledge now is more profound, right? So in order to avoid all these delays or revisiting and rechecking, the best remedy is respecting the guru or respecting the father, giving profound respect to the father, the teacher, and elderly people. Serve them or seek their blessings regularly, right? So if the relationship with the father is not so comfortable, right, make an honest and conscious effort to improve it. Then you can see that your father's teachings are working. You're actually doing very good in your life, right? So respect your father, respect your guru, respect the elderly people. And service to education is also one of the best remedy for this kind of people. So volunteer to teach or mentor those who are less fortunate donate books or donate some educational supplies, or give some financial aid to the students or some religious institutions like temples or ashrams, right? So that would reduce the delays because of your revisiting and rethinking. So, and a kind of spiritual practice, a kind of worshipping Lord Dakshinamurti is also very much required on Thursdays. Even to some extent, if you do some fasting on Thursday, that is also a very good thing. So it's something like questioning your belief system and questioning your father is actually wasting some time in your life. That's the only negative thing here. Questioning your own belief system, sometimes wasting your time, right? But of course you are becoming an excellent person because of that as well. It's not a very bad placement at all. It's not a bad placement at all, not very even. It's not a bad placement at all. Even the delay that you have seen in your life, because of this questioning and also rethinking, revisiting, that is also helpful for you. That is making you a kind of a special person altogether, I would say. So this is it. But better you serve, better you serve your father, your gurus and elderly people. Service to education institutions is also a very good thing, so that if there are any unnecessary delays because of this retrograde Jupiter, they would be vanished. So thanks for watching this video.